Today's episode is a powerful reminder that life can change in a moment. Holly Porter was raising 8 children and running multiple businesses when COVID-19 nearly took her life. What followed was not just a fight for survival, but a profound shift in perspective, faith, and purpose. In this conversation, Holly shares her near-death experience, the physical and emotional realities of battling severe COVID, and the spiritual awakening that transformed the way she sees her life. We talk about surrender, resilience, the power of community, and how crises can become a catalyst for growth. If you've ever faced a health diagnosis, unexpected hardship, or a season that forced you to slow down and reevaluate everything, then this episode is for you. This is Holly's story of survival and the shift that changed everything. Welcome to The Life We're Given. I'm your host, Brandy. This is the podcast where honest conversations fuel you to keep moving forward in life, no matter what may stand in your way.
Healing from my teenager self, the one who dreamt of what a relationship would be.
Yeah, my doctor just called. She says I needed to go get a blood transfusion. I don't really know what that means, what that looks like. I've never had one before.
We talk about the hard moments in life.
Do I matter? Do I matter to you? And so I'd always had that question of identity from a parent figure.
Hearing resilient stories from others will help you know that you are not alone.
It's so nice. I feel like we can relate.
Thank you so much for joining me, Holly. I think you just have such a cool and amazing story and something not a lot of people have been through and survived. So it's just an awesome story of resilience and overpowering and coming out with a different mindset. So I'm really excited to get into everything.
Thanks for having me, Brandy.
Yeah, absolutely. So where I think we're going to start is really just talking about what your life looked like pre-COVID, before being diagnosed. What was life before that?
Oh, busy. Way busier than now. It's just different busy. We raised 8 kids. So when my husband and I got married 24 years ago, each of us had 2 girls, 2 boys. So 8 kids in the same household between 6.5 and 19 years old.
Gosh.
And that whole time he had his own company. I had mine. Plus we had a couple others too at a fundraising company. And so we just always had 2 or 3, companies going at once. And I was president or chair of about, Rotary International, Chamber of Commerce, Women in Business. It just like we always were on the go. Lived about 25 miles out of town, which was a little challenging with teenagers.
Yeah.
So I didn't sit still much. Like I felt like, I feel like now I almost say busy's the new stupid. Like we don't need to keep ourselves that busy. And I think I thrived on it. And so that's how it was before. Yeah.
I've been that way too. So I understand. Yeah. And so then I want to talk about what led up to you getting COVID. Like, what was that experience like? Like, let's start there.
Yeah. Well, I was super healthy. And so I didn't think I was above getting it or anything like that. I just never thought I would. Mm-hmm. I just never got sick. When I went in the hospital, they didn't have any records on me at all. Like, it was no baseline. Oh, wow. Within the first 30 days, my app said I had 422 records. So it was nuts. They threw everything at me. But prior to that, I went to a conference is where I got it. I got the Delta version, which I think still is far the worst one out there yet, variants. And I was not vaccinated. A lot of people asked that question. I wasn't against it at the time. My intuition told me every time I had an appointment, because back then we had to have appointments to go get it. My gut just said don't. So I didn't. My husband around the same time had a nightmare dream that he got it and died. And so he's like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So, we went into just really holistic, came back from the conference, was really sick at home. I knew I had it about the second day that I came home. I tested. And then I stayed hunkered down in there for a week because I wasn't afraid of hospitals, but there was a lot of chatter going on about what was happening in those hospitals.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I woke up intuitively after a week and just said to my husband, I'm in trouble. We've got to get to the hospital now. And I feel like I have an elephant sitting on my chest. I don't know how he got us there because I also gave it to him. He was about 2 days behind me. He was on oxygen, had blood clots, but never got hospitalized. He probably would have done better had he, I have not been in the hospital though, because that didn't help his healing.
Yeah, I bet.
Couldn't even come see me for 3.5 weeks
Oh,
after
wow. That
I
is a
got in
long
there, which
time.
was, so I went in the hospital. He parked, dropped me off at the ER. We all know how long they take for everything, right?
Yeah.
He parked, he came back in the ER, and they already had me on my way to the ICU. That's how serious it was. So my oxygen was
Wow.
at 63, all my organs were shutting down, and that started my first day of 70. So I was in 2 hospitals, one for about 30 days, and then the rest of the time in another one for like 2 weeks of their ICU, and then the rest in like med surge. And like I had to learn how to do everything again. Your muscles are like jello when you lay there that long. And I was put in a coma a lot of that time for healing. But the first 3.5 weeks, my husband wasn't there until I got the trachea, because I had 2 intubations and the trachea and sepsis and some other life-threatening
Oh
things.
my gosh. All
But
within
he
that
came.
70 days, right?
Yeah, 70 days total in the hospital. But my experiences were all the first 3.5 weeks. So they about ended about the time, well, probably about the time my husband came, because he came the day I got the trachea, which you're still on a ventilator, but now instead of it going down your throat, it's in your throat, basically.
Oof.
Yeah. And so I still really couldn't talk, but yeah, at least he didn't have to see me on a ventilator, because those pictures are
Yeah.
scary looking. I mean, he saw
Yeah.
pictures, but he
Yeah,
talked
but
to me
that
on the
was
ventilator.
it. How would you say after seeing him after those 3 weeks of being in the hospital, like what was that like seeing him for the first time?
Oh, it was, well, I think I can remember more when he had to leave. So he could only, because he was so sick. So
That's right.
praise God, I could have one person stay in the hospital with me every 24 hours. A new person could come. So my sisters I have a family. I'm from there's 9 kids in my family, but I had 2 twin sisters just under me, and they lived in the same town. And so, boy, I mean, the
Oh,
busiest sisters in the
nice.
family, and they just put their hats on, like they trained for that all their life, and they just started
Oh,
rotating. And then it got to be, we're a week in, we're 2 weeks in. So then they called in one of my kids. One of my daughters came a few times, and so a couple times they were really picky about who came, because
yeah.
things were such touch and go every day that they didn't want me dying on somebody else.
Yeah.
They had
Yeah.
been there. They were like, she's going to die. It's going to be when I'm here. And so
Yeah.
they just really, and so Scott came for like 2 hours the first day. And I just remember my sister saying, how sad I was after he left. And
Oh,
I mean, it's emotional to even think about, because it's
yeah.
like the love of your life, and you can't, he finally comes and you're so sick and you just like
Yeah.
want them there. And he wasn't well himself. So yeah, it was tough, really tough.
That is so tough, and probably something you never thought would happen,
Oh,
even with
never,
being diagnosed with COVID, is
never.
going through any of that. So, how many kids do you have? Did you say 8? You have 8?
Yeah, so when Scott and I got married 24 years ago, we
Wow.
put 8 kids together. We have almost 19 grandkids now.
Oh,
Big
wow, that's
family.
so awesome. How did your kids deal with that, hearing what's going on, not able to see you every day? Like, how did they deal with that?
Yeah, I have pictures of like Zooms where they
Hmm.
were all on Zooms I think everyone was just trying to come to grips, like, what's our next plan
Yeah,
of attack, because no one knew. I mean, gosh, 70 days is a long time.
it's a long
And
time.
I missed Halloween and Thanksgiving. Well, no, I didn't miss Thanksgiving. But anyway, I just, fall's my favorite season. So it was just like so many weeks would go by, and my sisters were updating. I had friends all over the world. And so they were hanging on to social media, because
Yeah,
everyone's just thinking the next post that's it.
yeah,
And they would update. My sister would say, yeah, a week would go by and nothing had changed. Like, I didn't know. They always did uplifting things. They're like, we want to be real, because nothing's changed. So they think of something, or they took pictures of my toes and talked
yeah,
about, different things. And I mean, they were saints. I'm telling you that if everyone only would have had my sisters, like I
yeah.
did, I don't think a lot of people would have died. A lot of people died alone, and half were dying in there when I was in there, and 2 floors of, people with this Delta version. And there's some sad times. I mean, we all suffered. I'm not the only one. We all suffered. We all know someone probably that died or.
Yeah, it's true.
So.
What would you say within the 70 days in that hospital? You're probably laying there most of the time. So you're sitting there with most of your thoughts. Of course, you're watching TV and able to see and do other things, but you didn't? Did you sit with your thoughts a lot?
The only time I remember what happened to the TV, oh my gosh, and it drove me freaking nuts because the same commercials kept coming on because they were dumb channels. And so I mean, it's the same ones over and over, and they just played over and over. So I finally, it was a big deal when I was always worried about where my phone was. I mean, I'm a real estate agent, we live by our phone. I always wanted to know where the phone was. When I could finally hold it, that was a miracle because that's how weak I was. And then when I could barely move I had an iPad, the big one that goes on a stand.
Yeah.
And I'd watch movies on that because at least then it was Netflix, so I didn't get interrupted.
Yeah.
So that's where I watched a lot of shows because I wasn't sleeping very well, even in the hospital. So they had me in a coma probably I'm guessing about 30 of those days off and on to make you heal. And so I was grateful because, okay, picture this. I'd lose all 5 senses. So you are on a ventilator. They tie your hands to a bed because they don't want you pulling it out. And I had no desire to do that, by the way. And I mean, breath was everything to me. I was not going to pull something out that was giving it to me. But, people just wake up and they're crazy and they do stuff. So I had no touch. And then taste and smell were gone because of COVID. I'm naturally legally blind, way past that. So without contacts or glasses, I couldn't see who anyone was unless they were about 8 inches in front of me. And then they wore, a yellow hat and a yellow mask and a yellow gown. So, and then glasses, most everybody wore, even if they didn't wear glasses, they wore shields probably because of the eyes with COVID. And then the hearing, 90% of the ventilator, they never could figure out why, but it took 90% of my hearing away. And so everybody sounded like the Charlie Brown school teacher. Wah, wah,
my
wah.
gosh.
So for them to put me in a coma was a blessing because I laid there when you were asking about that. I can remember thinking, I never thought I was never afraid of death ever. Definitely I'm not now. But
That was one of my questions. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember laying there thinking, oh, okay. I never thought I'd live to be very old. This is how I go out. And then you're thinking, gosh, was I enough? Am I enough? Did I deserve enough?
Wow.
What kind of a legacy am I leaving? Is this am I proud of what I've done? And, you're thinking all these things for me, I had a lot of headspace there. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense though of have I done what I was supposed to do here on earth before actually leaving?
My prayers changed while I was in there. It was at first
really
after about the 3.5 week mark, because that's when I can definitively tell you I had a spiritual transformative experience. And I can tell you that was the moment when I knew I live. And that's probably right after that's probably when I got my trachea because, I was changing. I was like, look, it was kind of like this reasoning with God. God's my higher power, whatever that is for anyone else, I respect. Yeah. But I was kind of like, look, if you're not going to get me better, then get me out of here because I'm done.
Yeah.
This sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. Do one or the other. Yeah.
Yeah. I was kind of at that point. It's like, I'm done. I'm done fighting this. So it's that surrender, which is actually part of my shift framework in my book that I just launched.
Yes. I want to talk about that as well. So surrendering, tell us what that looked like for you, for somebody out there that may need that's trying to understand what is surrender. How was that for you?
So shift is my acronym. Surrender is the first one. Transformation is the last. And it's interesting that those are literally the bookends of the board, right?
Yeah.
Because we have to have surrender before we can have the transformation. And for me, surrender is just not just giving it up to a higher power, giving up to anything that's helpful. Think about, nobody does it alone, okay? I don't care what anyone says. I bet if you asked any successful person that's had any amount of success in their life, and I'm not just talking about money, it could be whatever.
Yeah.
Prosperity can be lots of things. And they didn't do it alone. Everybody had some kind of help from somebody, or a teammate, or a cheerleader, or a spouse or significant other. Like, everybody's had some kind of mentorship if they really think about it. If they didn't and they did that, then you had a higher power, because that's still something. Right?
It's true. Yeah.
And so I think it's just like getting to that point where, before I think you can move on, move forward, move up, it is that surrender. It's just like, okay, I've done everything I possibly can. I'm just now, this is where it's at. What's next, you know?
Wow. So S is surrender. What's that H, I, and F?
Okay, so hope's the next one. And hope, I don't think I've ever even at my very bottom that I had the couple years after all this happened, I wouldn't say I ever completely, utterly lost hope. I always knew this is a phase. This is it's got to get better because it can't get worse. Like, I always felt like in my gut I had that hope. And so it breaks my heart when people like literally feel like they have none, because there's always something to be hopeful for.
Yeah.
To really dig deep.
True.
And then after that is intuition. And intuition, we all have that gut feeling, and it's just that knowing. I had it before. I have it a lot more now. It's not a psychic thing, guys. It's just listening to that inner voice and following it.
Yeah.
And we all make decisions and we're like, I knew I shouldn't have done that, or my gut said I shouldn't do that. Like, we've probably all had those moments. And so it's just that. And then faith. And faith really, to me, is part of the surrender. Like, believing in something enough that you can just say, okay, I trust that. And I have faith in that. And transformations, the change after all that takes place, and you go through all the ups and downs and insides and outs. When you're different, you come out the other side somehow transformed. Not everybody comes out transformed for the better, but I hope that they will see the bright side in some things. I mean, when I had some transformation, I didn't like the way it ended. Till later, I looked back and said, oh my gosh, those were all the lessons I needed to learn for my philanthropy work I'll do in the future. And at the time, you're like, this is the worst days of my life. Like, why did I live through this? And later, you figure it out.
Oh, it's so true, though. I don't think I told you, but I was diagnosed with 2 rare blood disorders, and that's really what led me to this podcast and starting that. But I went through every phase that you said of shift. When you get to the end, when you're in it, it's so hard to see why behind why you're going through it and what good can come from it, maybe later on and not in the moment. So I think that's a really good way to explain it to people that really just may need that hope of knowing that there's a reason why, there's a reason why.
And you don't need a near-death experience to have a shift.
Very true. You
don't need a near-death experience to truly live either.
Yeah.
That's all
it's
choice.
Very true.
And you can make a choice like that.
It's so true. I grew up with my parents always saying it's a choice. You get to make the choice, and it is very true. And you can make the choice as quickly as possible. I do want to go back and talk about your spiritual awakening, because I think this is an amazing part of your story that I do want listeners to hear as well. Is you're in the hospital with COVID, and you told me that you have this spiritual awakening. Walk us through that. Explain that to us.
Yeah. Well, it's a really long story. And so if anybody wants like the whole version, you can probably Google my name on YouTube. And I've done lots of near-death podcasts that'll share it's like a 45-minute story.
Yeah.
So the spiritual experience that I had was that last experience that I mentioned a couple minutes ago, that I was praying, if you're not going to get me better, get me out of here. But I was also kind of angry because my cousin had sent a text to my sisters, and I remember him reading it to me. I wasn't doing well, and she knew it. She lived out of state, and she said, read this to me. And the gist of it was she was praying for my husband and I's well-being, and then was surrounded by all these spirits and asked who they were. And basically the gist was to let us know, this is your ancestors that have passed on, and they're here, and they're even supporting you. They're here for you. And I was mad because I'm a redhead. We're kind of hot-headed. And she's more like a sister cousin. And I was kind of like, that's not fair. Why? That's not fair. Why'd she get that experience? I'm the one here suffering. Why didn't I get that? Being a brat. And when you're a brat and you're a kid, who usually comes to put you in check is mama, right?
Yeah.
Well, my mama died about a year and a half before that, and she had come to me quite a few times while I was in the hospital, but this time she spoke to me. It was the only time I remembered her speaking to me. She's always on my right side, and she came to me in my bed, and she said, "It's not your time to go, and you need to fight." And when she said the word fight, my brother, who had passed on just a few years before that in a really bad car wreck, so did his wife in a car wreck about a year and a half before that.
Oh my gosh.
5 months before that, well, before I went in the hospital, I had a grandbaby pass away. But he came to my mom, put his hand on her shoulder and for support basically. And then when she said fight, all in my bed, here I am laying in my bed, and all above me came all my ancestors, my favorite aunts, cousins, grandparents, the grandbaby. The grandbaby was an adult though.
Wow.
Like it was so cool.
Wow.
Died at 2 days old, but I knew it was her. And they came and they started chanting, and they're all in white, and they started chanting fight, fight, fight. Every time the word fight would get brought up, a whole new group would come behind them. And now they're in street clothes. So now I'm looking at, my husband and the siblings and kids. And I'm just like all this support, and then friends. And I'm seeing thousands of people, as far as I could see, chanting fight.
Ooh.
Like it was this defining moment when, because I'm praying, either get me out of here or get me better.
Yeah, you are.
Told to fight. Okay. It was like so clear. Oh, you're going to live. Might not be easy, but you're going to live. But you need to fight. As if I wasn't already. Right. So that was like that moment of just such clarity. And later I realized all those people that I didn't recognize, I really feel like in my core of knowing, they were all the people of all those prayer lists I was on. That all my friends and family and people on the internet all over the world had put me on, and I to let me see, not only see, but feel that kind of love and support that I had. To have thousands and thousands, it was just like, wow, who am I?
My gosh, I'm tearing up. Just to see the people, like you said, it's so hard when you're going through something to see the people that are supporting you and to see it first off. How did that make you feel? Did that make you want to fight?
Yes, because I wasn't afraid to die. I definitely am not now. It's just to realize little old me has that much support. Who am I not to fight? Right?
Yeah.
It kind of gave you that, okay, I got this. I got this from here and there. So, of course your mama told you what to do. So.
Yeah. So you have to do it now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful though.
And the near death, that story is quite long, but I will just give you, so if you're interested, go find it on one of the near death stories.
I'll put the link to in the show notes so they can find
because there's quite a few of them on there. But yeah, that one was interesting because where I was in this, what I explain a stadium of light and all these amazing people, but now hundreds and thousands of people are in this stadium, like a football stadium, but it was way bigger.
Wow.
And there was an angelic concert going on. There was telepathy with people, communicating like so fast. Like if I had a thought, it was answered before I even finished the thought. It was like, and I looked and I saw these, hundreds and thousands of people, but I looked and I could see feet. So it was like, they were just everywhere, but nobody was on the ground. Nobody was in the state,
wow.
Nothing. Everybody was like floating. And then there was a live review that I only saw good. And I'm thinking, this is cool. I've done lots of naughty things. Where's that?
Yeah.
And I'm not dwelling on it there because you're in such a place. Remember my senses were gone in the hospital. Well, here, sure. They're like 100 times turned on. So like there's all this matter and foggy stuff floating around, but yet, so you think it was blurry, but it wasn't. Like it was like fog, but you could see so clear. You could see everything. You could hear everything. The music that started playing from all four directions was so angelic. Well, obviously. And I remember I had never heard the songs, but I knew the words to every song. So it was like that telepathy knowing was coming so fast that I could sing with them because I was getting it as I was doing it. Right. So
That is so
it's
wild.
like that knowing. Now it's the gift of all knowing.
Mm.
And so that was amazing. Two things I was told real quick was I was told to start a nonprofit called Adventure Bucket Wish. I was given no mission. More is explained in a lot of that too. I was also told not to partner. The day I found out I had COVID, I pitched to a company that I had a new business called Retreat R&R, and I pitched them. They had a billionaire backer. I wanted to partner with them. I was told not to partner with them. That wasn't the highest and best thing, that I needed to do it on my own. And that was it. And then I didn't get a choice to stay or go. And by the way, people listening, if you've lost somebody and you're wondering if they're in a good place, trust me, they are. Number one, I would not have came back if they would have given me a choice. I don't know why I would have. I mean, yes, I've got kids and family, but I'm telling you what, I could help them way better from the other side. They don't listen to me anyway, right? So I didn't get a choice. People that got a choice, we don't talk to them again because they don't come back.
Yeah.
So there you go for that. So I come back and I spelled out to my sister when I came back, kidnapped, on the letterboard because I couldn't speak. And I spelled out KID. She said, and I'm telling you this kind of fast, but she said, "Oh, do you need me to tell your kids something?" "No." NAP. And she's like, "Kidnap? Like, I ran an errand because they said you were doing better. Like, what is happening? What happened while it's on?" And
She's like, "Where
for
were
2
you?"
years, it took me 2 years to figure out why I felt kidnapped. There were still spirits in my room. Right when she figured out I said that, the nurse and the doctor came in the door to extubate me because I was doing better and took the ventilator out for the first time. So that's how come I know exactly when that happened, was between the first and the second ventilation, and said, I was just like, I knew I was the only one that could see the spirits. She was opening the doors and the bathroom and showing me nobody's in there, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't afraid. I don't know why I kept saying kidnapped. I found that out later. But after about 3 months, I got the nonprofit incorporated and I got Retreat R&R incorporated. Started those. I don't even know how. I was so sick. I had long COVID. I was on oxygen. I had like 9 doctors and I didn't have any before that. I was on 12 prescriptions when I walked out of the hospital.
Gosh.
I was a mess. I had to learn to breathe first of all, to talk, to walk, to sit up, to swallow, to eat. I mean, you name it. I had to learn everything again. And so there was a lot of rehabilitation. They wanted to send me to a third hospital after 70 days. And I like gave them my plan. I said, "I'm good. I got this, and this that'll happen. You can send me all the therapy you want." I had like 3 different kinds of therapy come into I went and stayed at my son's house for a couple weeks and then my sister's house a couple weeks. I couldn't even get in. We were living in a fifth wheel waiting for our house to close, which we lost because they didn't know I could sign. So we didn't get that house. And we were in the fifth wheel. I couldn't even lift up my oxygen tank. I had no energy to even do that for a month after I got out of the hospital. So like there was just so many things that led up to that. But anyway, it was been a wild ride.
That is pretty amazing. Yeah, I remember you when we spoke on the phone, you talked about how God gave you things to do. And it's so cool to hear that you did not wait really long until you started those things.
Well, I think I knew I was supposed to do them. And even though my health was so bad, I think I was gifted the how. And because my brain was totally, the brain fog's real. And then, like I said, I was getting all these diagnoses coming in. But then about that 4th month, I went through almost 2 years of complete and utter hell is what I call it. Yeah. Like every bad day you've ever had, take it and times it by 100. That's how heavy and in darkness I felt every day. And I'm thinking, how do you come from the stadium of light to that? Yeah. And I prayed every day I would have died. I was like, why would you save me to put me through this? Like what? It's like I kind of knew the purpose. I felt like I was almost like given my life Bible. I mean, who gets that, right?
I was about to say.
It's like, here's your end result. Figure it out in between. But, you know, here's your end result, which is really cool. Like, so I still know that. I know I had to go through a lot of those things. We had to deal with some horrible things with DCFS and some grandkids in custody and lost a couple of grandkids to not death, but an adoption to a family member that should have never happened. It was hard, like every hard you've ever been through. And I'll tell you what, that grieving, because I really hadn't grieved my brother and my grandbaby and my mom, because I was always I was the wedding singer. I sang at all the funerals and I could put everything together, and I worked with the funeral home and I cried, sure, but I never processed that grief. And when this happened with the grand boys, it was like so much worse than processing someone who died is to grieve somebody who's living, because you're breathing the same air as them, and you can't see them every day, and you can't hug them. And it was just so devastating. And so it took a long time, about a year after that, before I started realizing those were the lessons I need for the philanthropy work I'm doing in the future, for what I was shown, it's like, remember, you got the end result. This is the figuring it out in between stuff. So yeah, it's not been an easy road, but it's getting easier. And
that's good.
Yeah.
Wow. That's such an amazing story. I know that's a shorter version of it. But
a throw up version.
Yeah. That's so awesome to hear, though. Just like you said, God gave you what you were going to be doing in the end, but again, you still have to go through the middle part of it all and still figure out the why. Like, okay, I'm still going through all of this.
Yeah.
Where's it going to lead? Would you say that you said that the second thing God told you to do was to not sign with whoever it was, the billionaire?
Yeah.
Was that the best decision too?
Yes. And there's so many cool things happening with all that right now, which is like blowing me away. Like even today I had something happen that's like, oh, I got to meditate on this. Like I got to figure out. Yeah. It's like I have another fork in the road I can take. And this way will get me to that journey. And this will get me to probably the same end, that's going to maybe look differently. But I found out later that that company I would have partnered with, like they kind of fizzled out. I actually reconnected with that person just this year. So it's been 4 years since we had this conversation. And I'm just thinking, man, who knows? Like none of us know that future, like the why. No. And it wouldn't have been a good thing. I've had a couple reasonings of the why that happened. At the time I was bummed because I'm thinking I don't have to go raise, a couple $1 million to get this software created. And there's been a lot of things, but it's part of the journey. And later when I had a hypnosis session about the near death, because there was some gaps missing in that whole story, that was almost as good. And I was told more will be revealed to you when the time is right. And that to me, that was such a good feeling to say, okay, like that's great. Usually I don't want to know surprise. I mean, like usually I have to know surprises. I don't like them.
Yeah.
But to know, I probably couldn't have handled everything at the same time. And I've learned
at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, there was an entity in my near-death experience, and there was some dark things that went on too. And so it's like figuring out like why and, okay. I mean, so like 4 years later, I'm still getting pieces to the story. And someone told me it takes like 10 years for people to unravel a near-death experience. 10 years.
Wow.
So that's exciting for me.
Yeah, you still got a long way to go.
The rest of the story later.
You could write another book on that. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. You say a lot today through our time. You've said you don't fear death.
No.
You're not scared of it.
No.
Why would you say that now?
I was never before, actually. Ironically, I never could, like when you do visualizations and different things, and you do like an exercise searching for 5 years in the future and visualize things. I never could do that exercise. I have some crazy stories around that too. But when I'm laying there in the hospital bed, I'm thinking, okay, I didn't ever think I'd live to be that old. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty old now, but I'm not an old woman, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, well, this is probably it then, My mom, I remember always saying she died of Parkinson's. And so that's a horrible disease. And she was never afraid of death either. I just remember having some conversations with her. I mean, I feel like when you have some kind of a belief in some kind of hereafter, it's more comforting. I know after now what I saw, and it's like, no way am I. And in my hypnosis session, by the way, I went back to the life review and I asked, where's the bad? And I didn't see God, but I heard God. And he said, I'm showing you the good because that's what matters.
Mm.
And I thought, of course you are. You're a God of love.
Yeah.
And then he gave me a message, and this was in the hypnosis session, that if I would have had this message from the actual near death and remembered it, I would have changed those 2 years of all those things I went through and all those lessons, which I do not want to repeat, by the way. And he said, love them where they're at. And I thought that would have taken the energy, the judgment, every ick away from those 2 years that I needed to experience for what I'm building and the philanthropy work I need to do, because I saw what I saw and went through what I did. And I thought, wow, if we could all just have that in our hearts, love them where they're at. It's not our place to decide who they are, what they do, and judge them. And nope, just love them where they are.
Gosh.
Can't change it.
You also sound very obedient to what God's telling you to do. And not everybody really is. Like you said, the two things he told you to do, you did. You did those two things. You could have
felt so blessed that I lived through what I did, because all I was hearing was how special I am, and you're a miracle and you're a warrior. I mean, my comments on my Facebook, I mean, I would cry reading those. It's funny because they'll still come up on my memories, and it's like there was between 200 and 400 comments per post that my sisters would give updates, and they weren't just like, hang in there, thumbs up, prayer hands. I mean, they were like paragraphs, because you know why? Everybody was suffering. Everybody was going through pain from COVID. And it was just, people are good. I think we end up feeling like there's so much evil in the world, and there is. But what do we want to focus on? If you focus on the evil, you're going to get more evil. If you focus on the good, you're going to get more good. And I think it was like, who am I to dare not be obedient when I just got my life saved?
Yeah.
There's no rhyme or reason why I should have lived.
Yeah.
None.
Wow. I mean, I love that, just because it is so hard for some people to be obedient to what God's told them. And to have that faith and that hope that it's all going to work out for good, which it truly is. That's what God promises us. You also talk about praying a lot, and I really want to touch on that. And has your prayers changed? Like, do you pray different now than when you were in the hospital? Or how's your prayer life?
Honestly, I feel like it could be way better. It could be way longer and way more often. Just being full disclosure.
Yeah.
And yet I feel like with me, when I would get answers from God over the years, I got them quick, because it's just how I had to move, So during divorce times and things, like after it's part of that surrender. It was like after I had done everything that I knew to do and that I could think of to do, then it was like, okay, I'm here I am, I need an answer. I mean, one time, I'll tell you a quick story real quick, how it happens fast for me. My ex-husband, we were having issues, and I was living like 3 hours away from him, but I had a kids clothing store, and he lived in Las Vegas. I lived in Southern Utah, about 2 hours difference. He came and met me on a Sunday up at the store so we could discuss things. And we'd already been separated for probably a year by this time. Yeah. And I remember there was a disagreement about something. I mean, I never was a big fighter or screamer or anything like that. It was just like, there was a discussion, and he went out and sat in his truck. And I just remember that surrender feeling. I remember praying, okay, if this is it, if the divorce needs to happen and this is the way it needs to be, just let him start his truck and leave right now. Like, leave 2 hours away. Next thing I know, I hear his truck start, and he left. Never called, nothing. I mean, of course we talked later, but it was like that clear of an answer. And so when you get those kinds of answers, you better listen, And so of course I got divorced, because like how it was like, okay.
Yeah. Wow. Where would you say you are now health-wise with everything?
Oh, I love to brag about this, because I've had a lot of setbacks every day. My motto is better's better. What am I going to do today to get more better than I was? More better. I don't know if that's proper English, but more better for me than I was yesterday. So I was 70% for a long time, which 70% of 100 is not good. Okay. And I went from being on a lung transplant list from a lung disease to getting told a few months ago that I didn't even have to do the CT scan or pulmonary function test next year if I didn't want to. Like from a lung disease that usually 2 to 4 years is your lifespan. So like there's another, I mean, in my book, I have a whole, section dedicated, the whole chapter is dedicated to all the miracles, just about all the miracles. I could just tell you lots of those. So now I'd say I'm about 95. So like, to me, that's another miracle. I never thought I'd get over 70. I was at 70 for probably a couple years. And I have had this last year, I did have a relapse. First 2 years, it was like 6 weeks. They were awful. And then last year was 10. And I realized, I think God put me in a coma to sit still so he could give me direction where I needed to be going. And that's the only way I could sit still and listen. And I think that the relapses, 3 is my number for lessons. For some reason, I have to make those mistakes 3 times before it gets in my head that, oh, maybe we should choose something different this time.
Yeah.
So 3 relapses. I realized after the 10-week one, I worked through it. I traveled through it, but you just feel like crap every day. Pain 7 to 10 every day, all day long. I just was like, okay, I just realized that relapse was probably because I'm off course. Something I'm doing is not what I'm supposed to be doing. So I'm hoping for no relapses this year. I have a different protocol in case I start slipping into that. I know what happens the first week, then I know what happens the second week. It's like, oh, I'm gonna just
you feel it
right
now.
on that.
Now you know.
Yeah.
Would you? I know in the beginning when I asked you what life was like pre-COVID, and you talked about being a lot busier and running around more and having so much going on, which I feel like you still do have a lot going on. But do you now understand or have pulled back a little? Like, how does that look as far as being as busy?
Yeah, I've had to because of my health, for one.
Yeah.
I don't live in fear. I mean, I was, within 2 years, I was in another country. Like, people are like, I can't even believe you'll get on a plane, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, but I'm not going to live my life in fear. I'm not invisible, obviously, but hey, I was saved.
Yeah.
I got things to do. But everything now I would say is so much more intentional. There's a lot more. I talk about that in my book. There's the book's half of it's my story and all these experiences, pre, during, after. And then the other half is 8 chapters of the SHIFT acronym around like a life wheel of subjects of things that I learned. And so it's a personal development book for people. It talks about people in history. It talks about all kinds of things that are going to help others. And you know, that you don't have to almost die to truly live, and you don't have to have a near-death experience to make a shift of your own. It's just, those messages are just weaved in there. So yeah, it's just intentional. That's the word that's coming to me when you say that. It's just, I don't do things for no reason. Like there's usually a reason why I do it.
Yeah. No, I feel like anything you go through like that really kind of slows you down and makes you look more at your life and what matters most. Yeah. I do want to talk about your book as well. So tell us a little bit about your book. I know you've explained a little bit about it, but what people can get from it, why you wrote it, and just kind of a backstory on that.
Yeah. And there's a lot of thought, provoking questions around different subjects, love, money, career, profession. Those are all different chapters in those 8.
Oh, awesome.
So I'll tell you a little story about it. When I was doing it, I knew it needed to have some personal development in there because that's who I am. And so I didn't want it to be this memoir. I didn't have a spiritual book. It was my 17th book. So we have 17 chapters. Everything was like I said, intentional. Near Death Shift changed the title. Like just when I was writing it, I had a working title for 2 years and I changed the title. Shift wasn't even part of that. It wasn't an acronym that I was even using until I started writing it. That came out. So like all these spiritual things kept happening while I was writing the book, including getting the idea of the new company that I just launched recently. So it's like all these things were happening. I was like in such great space. My story is my story, which is the first part. But the second part, that's all of the personal development. I would get those edits back from my editor, who was the perfect editor, by the way. I've known her since I was in junior high. And she loves near-death stories. So she was like the perfect one to help me tell it, right? And I'd get the edits back and I would read those, and I didn't even remember writing some of that information. Like, it was that powerful. Like, I knew that was not my hand writing that. And yeah, so I feel like, okay, people have a lot more to learn from a higher power. It's in that book. Because I can learn a lot from it. You know?
Yeah.
And I lived it.
Tell us the name of the book and where people can find it if they want to check it out too.
Near Death Shift. And neardeathshift.com. If you go there, that'll either take you, you can choose, you can get the ebook on Amazon, you can get the book on Amazon. But if you want a signed copy from me, then you can get it like that too. So there's 3 options, and it'll tell a little bit more about it on there. And yeah, getting some great feedback. So it's been a blessing to be able to have, you know, people that it's helping. And when people are reading the book overnight, I had a couple of people who read it in 2 days. I'm like, that's a 7-hour book. They're like, I know.
That's a good sign.
I listen to stuff on Audible. I'm not. It's not on Audible yet. My goal is to get it this year, to get it out on Audible, but it is not yet. My voice is one thing that I lost. I was a singer, and it's awful.
Oh no!
I could sing the blues because it's real low, and I could sing the blues, but yeah, I'm hoping that they say there's no damage, but it's awful. Like, especially like anything that's a religious, like hymn type song. Those are the worst ranges ever. Yeah. And I can tell because I've talked a lot today, like my voice is starting to get stressed. And so I want to make sure, I think the Audible needs to be read by me because it's my story, and my voice, I guess, is part of it. But I want to make sure it's strong. So it'll be a little while, but yeah, it's coming.
Oh, that'll be really cool, though, to hear it in your voice too, though, from your writing as well. Yeah.
Well, hopefully my voice isn't annoying and people will want to listen to it.
Oh, I think it'll be good. That's so amazing. I love to end every podcast with giving people a little bit of hope. From your story, I think we've walked away with such a shocking but amazing story of something that you never thought you'd go through. What would you tell anybody that may be going through something tough? I know you've experienced other things in life that we've talked about, but just out of everything, somebody that just needs some type of hope, you know, that may be listening to this, like, what can I get out of this? What would you tell them?
Okay, there's 2 things coming to mind. The first one is, if you're feeling kind of low, you need some hope, it's all about service. Think about the person that you want to serve the least, and think of something you can do for them, whether they know about it or not. If it's just behind the scenes, whatever, I almost promise you'll feel better if you do some kind of service for somebody else. And it doesn't have to cost money. Okay. If it does, and you can bless someone that way, great. The second thing is that message that I got: love them where they're at. Yeah. So if you're struggling, the first person you need to love them where they're at is yourself. And when you can do that, you can't pour from an empty cup. And that's what I learned, if not anything else, is that I'm no good to anybody else. And so it's take care of yourself. Put the oxygen mask on you first to be able to help, so that you're pouring from a full cup, not an empty cup.
Oh, wow. Those are so beautiful. Yeah. I loved when you talked about love them where they're at in the beginning too. That's just such a good statement to leave with, of love them where they're at.
I'm going to make some t-shirts with that on it.
Yeah, you should. I like that.
Powerful.
Yeah, it is very powerful.
Maybe during Easter we'll launch them.
Oh, yeah. You should do some Easter colors too. That'd be cute.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, thank you so much, Holly, for joining us. I'm going to put some links to where people can find you, find your book, and to check out more about your near-death experience and just more of an explanation of that if they're interested. Thank you again. This was awesome.
Appreciate you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Life We're Given. If it inspired you, share it with a friend. And don't forget to subscribe so you are notified about future episodes. Until next time. Oh, and keep showing up for you. You deserve it.